Have you ever felt like life is slipping through your fingers? Like no matter how much you achieve, there's a constant undercurrent of dissatisfaction. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you've been conditioned to live in an illusion. Eckhart Tolle, one of the greatest spiritual teachers of our time, discovered 7 mind-bending truths about reality that can completely transform how you see and live your life. But here's the catch. Most people never uncover these secrets, and they remain trapped in a cycle of stress, worry, and emotional pain. Right now, powerful forces, societal norms, the ego, and even your own mind, are keeping you disconnected from the one thing that can truly set you free, the present moment. The truth is, what you're searching for, peace, clarity, fulfillment, isn't out there. It's here, it's now. And once you understand these 7 transformative secrets, you'll realize that reality isn't what you've been told. Let's begin with the first secret, the illusion of time. Time, as you know it, is a construct of the mind. Think about it. How often are you truly in the present moment? Most of the time, you're either replaying the past or anticipating the future. You're stuck in an endless loop of what was and what might be, missing the only reality that actually exists, this moment. Eckhart Tolle explains that the past and future are mental projections. They aren't real. The only thing that's real is the now. Imagine you're carrying a heavy backpack. Inside are the regrets, mistakes, and memories of the past, along with the fears and anxieties about the future. It's exhausting, isn't it? But here's the good news. You can put that backpack down. The present moment is your doorway to freedom. When you let go of time, you let go of suffering. You stop clinging to what was and fearing what's to come, and you stop experiencing life as it is. Vivid, alive, and limitless. So how do you access the now? Start small. Take a deep breath and feel it enter your body. Notice the sensations in your hands, the sound of your breath, the space around you. These simple acts of presence anchor you in reality. They bring you back to the truth that life isn't happening yesterday or tomorrow. It's happening now. This brings us to the second secret, the pain body. This concept might sound unfamiliar, but once you recognize it, you'll see how much it influences your life. The pain body is the emotional residue of your past, unprocessed traumas, unacknowledged fears, and unresolved pain. It's like a dormant volcano, waiting for the right trigger to erupt, and when it does, you find yourself reacting in ways you don't understand, snapping at loved ones, feeling overwhelmed, or falling into despair. Tolle teaches that the pain body feeds on negativity. It thrives on drama, conflict, and suffering. But here's the empowering truth. The moment you become aware of it, you take away its power. Awareness is the light that dissolves the pain body. When you feel an emotional charge rising within you, pause. Instead of reacting, observe it. Name it. This is my pain body. By doing this, you create space between you and the emotion. And in that space, the pain body begins to weaken. When you start recognizing the pain body for what it is, you'll notice something extraordinary. Its grip on you begins to loosen. You're no longer caught in its web, reacting to every trigger without understanding why. Instead, you step back and become the observer of your inner world. This shift from identification to observation is the key to dissolving the pain body. It can't survive in the light of your awareness, and as it fades, something remarkable happens. You find yourself responding to life with greater clarity, peace, and presence. This brings us to the next mind-bending secret, the identity trap. Have you ever stopped to question who you really are? Most people haven't, because society encourages us to build our identity around roles, labels, and stories. You're told you're a student, a parent, a professional, you're smart, shy, ambitious, or funny. And while these labels might describe aspects of your life, they don't define the essence of who you are. Eckhart Tolle teaches that the ego is the architect of this false self. It creates an identity out of these labels and then defends it fiercely, clinging to the stories and roles it has constructed. But here's the truth. You are not your ego. You are not the roles you play or the thoughts you think. Those are just layers, masks that you've worn over the years. Beneath them lies something much deeper. Your true self, your essence. When you let go of the need to define yourself by these external markers, you tap into a freedom you've never known. You realize you don't have to prove anything to anyone, and the weight of maintaining a false identity lifts. Imagine the relief of simply being, without the constant pressure to perform or conform. To access this freedom, start by questioning your stories. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough," or "this always happens to me," pause and ask, who is saying this? Is this my true self or my ego? The moment you question it, the illusion begins to dissolve, and you reconnect with a stillness at your core. This stillness brings us to most of us live with minds that are constantly cluttered, thoughts racing, emotions swirling, endless to-do lists demanding our attention. It's like trying to hear a beautiful melody in a room full of noise. But Tolle teaches that within every moment there is space, a vast, silent stillness that surrounds everything. When you learn to tune into this space, you discover a sense of peace that transcends the chaos of daily life. Close your eyes for a moment and notice the silence between the sounds around you. That silence is not empty. It's alive, vibrant, and full of potential. It's the same with your thoughts. Between each thought, there's a gap, a moment of stillness. The more you focus on that stillness, the more it expands, creating space for clarity, creativity, and peace to flow into your life. But here's the paradox. Accessing this space requires surrender, and that's the next secret. Surrender is often misunderstood as giving up, but it's not about resignation, it's about acceptance. When you surrender to life as it is, rather than resisting it, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. Resistance creates tension, but acceptance creates flow. Tolle describes this as saying yes to the present moment, no matter what it holds. That doesn't mean you agree with everything or don't take action. It means you stop fighting reality and start working with it. Imagine you're caught in a rainstorm. You can either resist, cursing the weather and trying to stay dry, or you can surrender, letting yourself feel the rain and move through it. In both scenarios, the rain continues to fall, but your experience of it changes completely. Surrendering to life works the same way. When you stop resisting, you open yourself to the lessons and growth each moment offers. This naturally leads to the next secret, living in the now. This might be the most transformative of all, because the now is the only place where life truly exists. The past is gone, and the future is yet to come. Every time you dwell on what was or worry about what might be, you're missing the gift of this moment. And here's the incredible part. The now isn't just a fleeting moment in time. It's the gateway to your true self. When you fully embrace the present, something magical happens. Colors seem brighter, sounds more vivid, and life becomes richer. You stop rushing through the day and start experiencing it fully. This is the essence of mindfulness, and it's not a complicated practice. All it takes is your attention. Feel the warmth of the sun on your skin. Listen to the rhythm of your breath. Taste your food as if for the first time. These simple acts of presence bring you into alignment with reality. Finally, this brings us to the ultimate truth. You are not separate from life, you are life. The illusion of separateness is one of the greatest deceptions of the mind. It creates the false belief that you are an isolated being disconnected from others and the world around you. But Tolle teaches that this is not the case. You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the ocean in a drop. The same consciousness that flows through you, flows through everything and everyone. When you grasp this truth, fear dissolves. You stop seeing life as something to be conquered or feared and start experiencing it as an unfolding journey. You realize that you are not a separate entity navigating through life. You are life itself, constantly evolving, expanding, and expressing. This realization doesn't just change how you see yourself, it changes how you see the world. You start to recognize the interconnectedness of all things. You see yourself in others and others in yourself. Compassion replaces judgment, and love becomes your natural state of being. This is the ultimate freedom, living not as a separate individual, but as a conscious expression of life. As these 7 secrets begin to resonate within you, your experience of reality will transform. You'll no longer be bound by the illusions of time, ego, or separateness. You'll live with a sense of peace, clarity, and purpose that comes from knowing who you truly are, and that, as Eckhart Tolle teaches, is the greatest gift of all. When you start to integrate these truths into your life, something remarkable happens. The external world no longer holds the same weight over you. You stop reacting to every challenge or setback as though it defines you, and instead you begin to flow with life. This is not some abstract idea, it's a lived experience, and it begins with embracing the present moment fully. The more you connect with the now, the more you realize that life itself is your greatest teacher. Think about how much of your energy is spent resisting reality. You resist when things don't go your way. You resist when emotions like sadness or anger arise. You resist when life doesn't meet your expectations. But what if, instead of resisting, you accepted, not in a passive, resigned way, but in a deeply conscious and empowered way? Eckhart Tolle calls this the surrender paradox, because, by surrendering, you actually gain access to a power far greater than yourself. Imagine being in a long line at the grocery store. The ego's immediate reaction might be frustration. Why is this taking so long? This is wasting my time. But in that moment you have a choice. You can resist the situation and let your peace be disrupted, or you can surrender to it. You can shift your focus to the present, feeling the weight of your body on the ground, observing your breath, or even appreciating the people around you. And suddenly what once felt like an inconvenience becomes an opportunity to practice presence. This doesn't mean you become indifferent to life's challenges. Surrender doesn't take away your ability to act, it amplifies it. When you accept what is, you gain clarity and stop wasting energy on resistance. From this place of clarity you can respond with wisdom and intention rather than reacting impulsively. This is how surrender leads to empowerment. It aligns you with the flow of life rather than putting you in constant opposition to it. As you live more in the present, you start to notice something extraordinary. Your mind begins to quiet. This is the power of space that Tolle describes. Most people think they are their thoughts, but the truth is, thoughts are just a tiny part of your consciousness. When you give yourself space to step back from the endless stream of thinking, you discover a stillness that is profoundly peaceful and deeply transformative. Think of your mind as a vast open sky. Thoughts are like clouds. They come and go, constantly changing shape. Most of us spend our lives focused entirely on the clouds, forgetting the vastness of the sky behind them. But when you shift your attention to the space between thoughts, you reconnect with that vastness. This space isn't empty. It's full of awareness, creativity, and presence. It's where your true self resides. Many of you, not even some of you. This shift in perspective changes everything. Instead of being consumed by every passing thought, you start to observe them with curiosity and detachment. You realize you don't have to believe every thought that enters your mind. You can choose which ones to engage with and which ones to let pass. This simple awareness gives you incredible freedom, and it's one of the most powerful tools for transforming your life. In this space of awareness, you'll also begin to notice the patterns of your pain body. Remember, the pain body thrives on identification. It wants you to react to its triggers, to feed its energy with drama and conflict. But when you observe it with awareness, you starve it. You might feel the pain body stirring, a rush of anger, a wave of sadness. But instead of reacting, you simply watch it. You allow it to exist without judgment, and in doing so you take away its power. This practice of observation also reveals another profound truth. You are not your emotions. Like thoughts, emotions are temporary. They arise, they peak, and they fade. They're like waves on the surface of an ocean, but beneath the waves lies the stillness of your being. When you stop identifying with your emotions, you stop being controlled by them. You can feel deeply without being overwhelmed. You can experience pain without suffering. As you deepen your practice of presence, you'll find that even the most ordinary moments take on a new richness. The act of washing dishes, for example, becomes an opportunity to feel the warmth of the water, the texture of the soap bubbles, the rhythm of your movements. Walking outside, you notice the sound of birds, the rustle of leaves, the feeling of the sun on your skin. These small moments, when fully experienced, bring a profound sense of joy and connection. And this connection isn't just to the present moment, it's to life itself. This is where Eckhart Tolle's ultimate truth comes into play. The more you live in the now, the more you realize that you are not separate from life. The ego creates the illusion of separation, making you believe you're an individual navigating a world of others. But in reality, there is no separation. You and life are one and the same. This realization doesn't come through intellectual understanding, it comes through direct experience. It's the feeling of oneness you get when you look up at a star-filled sky or lose yourself in the beauty of a sunset. It's the sense of connection you feel in moments of stillness, when the boundaries between you and the world seem to dissolve. This is the essence of who you are, not a separate being, but a part of the infinite, unfolding reality. When you understand this, fear begins to fade. Fear is rooted in the ego's sense of separateness, its belief that it must protect itself from the world. But when you see that there is no other, you realize there's nothing to fear. Life isn't happening to you, it's happening through you. Even death, which the ego sees as the ultimate threat, loses its power. You come to see it not as an end, but as a transformation, a continuation of the eternal flow of life. This understanding doesn't make life perfect, but it makes it infinitely more peaceful and meaningful. Challenges still arise, but they no longer define you. Pain still comes, but it no longer consumes you. You move through life with a sense of ease, knowing that whatever happens, you are rooted in something unchanging and eternal. The more you live from this place, the more your life transforms. You stop seeking fulfillment in external things because you've found it within yourself. You stop needing others to validate you because you're connected to your own truth. And you stop trying to control life because you trust its flow. This is the freedom Eckhart Tolle speaks of. The freedom to live fully, joyfully, and authentically in the now. As you deepen your connection to the present moment, you'll start to see the world with new eyes. Ordinary experiences take on an extraordinary quality because you're no longer caught up in the mental chatter that used to drown out the richness of life. This state of presence isn't just about inner peace, it's about truly living. For the first time you feel fully alive, fully connected to the essence of existence. This transformation begins to ripple through every aspect of your life. Take your relationships, for example. When you're present, you bring a new level of awareness and authenticity to your interactions. You're no longer lost in your own thoughts, distracted by what you're going to say next or how the other person perceives you. Instead, you're fully there, listening with your whole being. This kind of presence is a rare gift, and it has the power to deepen your connections in ways you never thought possible. But presence does more than just improve your relationships, it transforms them. You begin to see others not as their roles, their labels, or even their actions, but as fellow expressions of life. You recognize the same consciousness within them that exists within you. This realization dissolves judgment and replaces it with compassion. Even when someone acts out of anger or fear, you see beyond their behavior to the pain or misunderstanding that drives it. So this doesn't mean you tolerate harmful behavior, but it does mean you respond to it with wisdom rather than reactivity. Eckhart Tolle often speaks about the difference between reacting and responding. When you react, you're acting from a place of unconsciousness, driven by your ego or your pain body. Your actions are automatic, fueled by old patterns and emotions. But when you respond, you're acting from presence. You're not just reacting to the surface of the situation. You're engaging with its deeper reality. This shift from reaction to response changes everything, allowing you to navigate even the most challenging situations with grace and clarity. This newfound presence also transforms how you view time. Most people live in what Tolle calls psychological time. They're constantly dwelling on the past or anticipating the future, and as a result, they miss the only moment that's real, the present. When you let go of psychological time, you free yourself from the endless cycle of regret, worry, and anticipation. You stop seeing time as a line stretching from past to future and start experiencing it as a series of present moments. Each moment becomes an opportunity to engage fully with life. Let's explore this in a practical sense. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. The ego's response is to resist. Why is this happening? I'm going to be late. This is ruining my day. But the present moment invites you to see things differently. Instead of resisting, you surrender. You accept the reality of the traffic and use the moment as an opportunity to reconnect with yourself. You take a deep breath. Feel the steering wheel in your hands and notice the colors and shapes around you. Suddenly, what once felt like a source of stress becomes a moment of peace. This shift in perspective applies to every aspect of life. Whether you're washing dishes, walking to work, or waiting in line, each moment holds the potential for presence. And as you practice being present, you start to notice how much more enjoyable life becomes. Even the simplest tasks take on a sense of beauty and fulfillment when you're fully engaged with them. But living in the now isn't just about enjoying life, it's also about finding freedom. When you're present, you're no longer bound by the stories your mind creates. You stop identifying with the labels and narratives that once defined you. This is the essence of Eckhart Tolle's teaching on the identity trap. The ego thrives on labels. It wants you to believe you are your job, your achievements, your relationships, but none of these things truly define you. Who are you without your job title, without your possessions, without the roles you play? At first, this question might feel unsettling because the ego fears losing its identity. But as you sit with it, you begin to sense the truth. You are not what you do or what you have. You are the awareness behind it all. You are the stillness, the presence, the consciousness that observes and experiences life. This realization is incredibly liberating. When you no longer define yourself by external markers, you become free to simply be. You stop chasing validation from others and start living authentically. You make decisions based on what feels true to you, not what society expects. And as you align more fully with your true self, you find that life begins to flow with greater ease. Opportunities arise, relationships deepen, and challenges become opportunities for growth. One of the most profound shifts that occurs when you live in the now is your relationship with fear. Fear, at its core, is rooted in time. It's the anticipation of something that hasn't happened yet. The mind projects into the future, imagining worst-case scenarios and creating anxiety. But when you're fully present, fear loses its hold. You realize that in this moment there is no danger. You're safe, you're breathing, and you're alive. Eckhart Tolle often uses the example of being chased by a wild animal. In such a moment, fear is a natural response. It activates your body to take action. But most of the fear we experience in modern life isn't based on immediate danger. It's based on thoughts about what might happen. When you recognize this, you can begin to let go of fear. You can bring your attention back to the present and ground yourself in the reality of now. This doesn't mean you ignore challenges or pretend everything is fine. It means you face life's difficulties from a place of presence rather than fear. When you're present, you're able to see situations more clearly and make decisions with greater wisdom. You stop acting out of panic and start responding with calm and confidence. As you let go of fear, you also let go of resistance. Resistance is the ego's way of trying to control life, but it only creates tension and suffering. When you resist what is, you put yourself in conflict with reality. But when you surrender, when you accept life as it is, you find peace. This doesn't mean you become passive or indifferent. It means you stop fighting the present moment and start working with it. Imagine being caught in a rainstorm. Resistance is trying to stay dry, running from the rain and feeling frustrated that it's raining at all. Surrender is opening an umbrella, walking through the rain and appreciating the sensation of water on your skin. The rain doesn't change, but your experience of it does. This is the power of surrender. It transforms your relationship with life. As you embrace surrender, you'll notice that life begins to flow more naturally. You stop trying to control every outcome and start trusting the process. This trust is a key part of Eckhart Tolle's teachings. It's the recognition that life is not something you need to fight against. It's something you can align with. When you align with the flow of life, you discover a deep sense of ease and harmony. You realize that you don't have to have all the answers or know exactly where you're going. You simply need to take the next step and trust that life will unfold as it's meant to. Living in this state of trust, presence, and surrender transforms every aspect of your reality. You stop being a prisoner of your mind and start experiencing the freedom of your true self. And as you live from this place of freedom, you inspire others to do the same. Your presence becomes a light, showing those around you what's possible when you let go of the ego and embrace the now. This is the essence of Eckhart Tolle's message. Life is not something to be feared, resisted, or controlled. It's something to be experienced fully, moment by moment. And when you live in alignment with this truth, you discover a reality that is far more beautiful, peaceful, and fulfilling than anything your mind could have imagined. As you fully embody the practice of living in the present, you'll notice that life itself begins to feel lighter. The burdens you once carried, the endless to-do lists, the mental narratives about who you should be, the fear of what might come, start to fall away. What's left is a sense of spaciousness, a clarity that allows you to truly experience life rather than merely enduring it. This is the gift of Eckhart Tolle's teachings. Not a promise to escape life's challenges, but the ability to navigate them with grace and presence. Imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you lived entirely in the now. There would be no replaying of past mistakes or missed opportunities. There would be no worrying about an uncertain future. Instead, there would be only the richness of the present moment, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the sound of a loved one's laughter, the feeling of your breath moving in and out. These moments, small as they may seem, contain the essence of life itself. But this way of being isn't just about enjoying life. It's about transcending the ego's grip. The ego thrives on dissatisfaction. It constantly tells you that you need more success, more recognition, more possessions to be complete. It keeps you in a state of striving, always chasing the next thing. But when you anchor yourself in the present, the ego loses its power. You realize that there's nothing you need to add to this moment to make it whole. It already is. This realization fundamentally changes how you approach the world. You no longer see life as a series of problems to solve or obstacles to overcome. Instead, you see it as a flow, a dance of experiences that are neither good nor bad. They simply are. When challenges arise, you don't resist them or label them as wrong. You meet them with curiosity, asking, "What is this moment teaching me?" This shift in perspective turns even the most difficult situations into opportunities for growth. Eckhart Tolle often emphasizes the importance of presence in dealing with pain and suffering. Pain is a natural part of life, but suffering is optional. Suffering arises when we resist pain, when we dwell on it or attach a narrative to it. Presence allows you to break this cycle. Instead of resisting pain, you allow it to be. You observe it without judgment, letting it flow through you like a wave, and as you do, you'll find that it loses its sting. Pain becomes a transient experience rather than a permanent state of being. This approach doesn't just apply to physical or emotional pain, it applies to fear as well. Fear is one of the ego's most powerful tools. It keeps you small, convincing you that you're not ready, not capable, not enough. But when you face fear with presence, it begins to dissolve. You see it for what it is, a thought, a projection of the mind. And in that realization, fear loses its hold on you. You discover a courage that comes not from pushing through fear, but from seeing beyond it. As you continue to live from this place of presence, you'll notice that your relationships also transform. Instead of approaching others with expectations or judgments, you meet them as they are, in the present moment. You listen not just with your ears, but with your whole being, creating a space for genuine connection. This kind of presence is rare, and it has the power to heal and deepen your relationships in profound ways. You'll also begin to see the interconnectedness of all things, the illusion of separateness, the idea that you are a distinct individual separate from others and the world around you begins to fade. You realize that you are not a separate drop in the ocean, you are the ocean itself, expressing itself through you. This understanding brings a sense of peace and unity that transcends the ego's need for competition or comparison. This realization of oneness doesn't just change how you see yourself, it changes how you see the world. You stop viewing life through the lens of scarcity, always trying to protect what's yours. Instead, you begin to see abundance everywhere. You recognize that life is not something to be hoarded or controlled, but something to be shared and experienced. This shift in perspective allows you to move through the world with greater generosity, openness, and joy. But perhaps the most profound change you'll experience is a deep sense of trust. Trust in life, trust in the process, trust in yourself. You stop trying to control every outcome and start trusting that life will unfold exactly as it's meant to. This trust doesn't mean you stop taking action. It means you take action from a place of alignment and clarity, rather than fear or desperation. You move with the flow of life rather than against it. This trust also extends to the unknown. The ego fears the unknown because it can't control or predict it, but when you're present, the unknown becomes less of a threat and more of a mystery to be explored. You stop needing to have all the answers, and you become comfortable with uncertainty. This comfort with the unknown allows you to embrace life fully without holding back. Eckhart Tolle describes this state of being as stillness in action. It's not about retreating from the world or becoming passive. It's about bringing the stillness of presence into everything you do. Whether you're working, creating, or simply being, this stillness infuses your actions with a sense of purpose and peace. You're no longer driven by the ego's need to achieve or prove. Instead, you're guided by a deeper sense of alignment with life. As you live more fully in the now, you'll discover that life itself becomes your greatest teacher. Every moment, every experience, every interaction holds a lesson, if you're willing to be present with it. You stop seeing challenges as obstacles and start seeing them as opportunities for growth. You stop looking for meaning outside of yourself and start finding it in the simple, profound reality of the present moment. This is the ultimate gift of Eckhart Tolle's teachings, the realization that everything you've been searching for is already here. Peace, joy, fulfillment. They're not out there waiting to be found, they're within you, waiting to be uncovered. And the key to uncovering them is presence. So, as you go about your day, take a moment to pause. Feel the air on your skin, the rhythm of your breath, the beating of your heart. Notice the stillness beneath the noise, the space between your thoughts. This is the essence of who you are, not your roles, not your labels, not your stories, but the awareness behind it all. When you live from this awareness, you free yourself from the illusions that once bound you. You step into a reality that is vibrant, alive, and limitless. You discover the power of the now, and in doing so you discover the truth of who you are, a conscious expression of life, unfolding perfectly in this moment.